What is going on, ghouls, gamers, and goblins? Potato Pickle here. Now, this video is going over a few matches I had in Pokemon TCG Pocket with a deck I made. Now, right here is the deck. As you can see, it's Clefable and ALAKAZAM. It's not the best deck out there, but it certainly is a deck. Now, what I like about this is that it is consistent psychic damage. You know, Clefable and ALAKAZAM are both psychic types. However, their weaknesses are different. This is not something you can pull off in a lot of decks, as you know, I think a lot of the fire and grass types share, their weaknesses, but with something like psychic and fighting, you can get two different weaknesses, and that kind of, has a better defensive option because Clefable is weak to metal, and obviously if you run across a metal deck, Clefable's about to get, knocked down immediately. But, Alakazam here can it survive Melmetal? Melmetal do 120, 130. I don't remember. But Alakazam is weak to dark, which means that if you go up against a dark deck, Clefable can still survive, in a standard way. It doesn't take the plus 20 extra damage, and that's super helpful. Now, obviously, this isn't anything crazy. It's just, a psychic deck. It's not Mewtwo Gardevoir. I think in a no EX format, I kind of prefer this over Mewtwo Gardevoir because, basic Mewtwo doesn't have a Psychic Sphere that the Mewtwo EX does. So, that Mewtwo Gardevoir kind of needs all four energy to then do anything. But with this, you can leave Clefairy, get the one energy, evolve into Clefable, have the Abra on the bench and start powering that up. And that's super helpful. And now the matches I'm going to show you here are kind of wild because I got these back to back. It's just one stream of video. And it's just the epitome of the game, I guess. I have some really bad matches, I have some really good ones, I have some really tricky ones. And I think it shows the best and worst that this deck is capable of, which is, kind of what I want. I don't just want to show the matches where I win. I like showing the matches where I lose because then, you can see why I lose. Obviously, might be a skill issue, might be a luck issue, that type of thing. And that being said, this is my commentary is going to be post commentary on these matches. It's not live. I screen recorded these off of my phone, and I'm just gonna play it back, go over some of my thoughts. I'm not really the best at coaching here. I'm just gonna show my thoughts. So show some of the regrets. Just talking in pure hindsight. So let me know what you guys think, and just enjoy. Alright, here we are in the first match. Alright, loading up here. Now, I believe this is a fighting match. Well, I mean, it's a fighting deck, I should say. I'm going second here. Yeah, it's a fighting deck, okay. As you can see in my hand, I just immediately get the Abra, nothing else. It's kind of a rough start. I don't mind getting Abra, but, I also don't have Oak or I don't have Professor's Research or a Pokeball in my hand, but they, lead with just a Mankey. So if I had Clefairy here, I could attack the Mankey right away and put it in a position where it can attack because, Mankey is weak to Psychic. Clefairy does 20 damage. With the weakness, it's going to do 40. So it kind of forces, and, this Mankey does 10 damage to itself. So that'd be really nice here, but I get the Clefable. Again, not the best. I can't draw more cards right now. So I'm just, stuck sitting here. Yeah, I still have these tooltips turned on. It's helpful for me to make sure I don't forget anything. I understand people, like turning them off, but I like having it on. So you're going to see that throughout this video. But yeah, let's see. Waiting for the opponent here. So I'm kind of hoping to draw a Clefairy here, whittle down this Mankey. But there's a Primeape and Machamp. To get the X speed, swapping out to the Machop. Now with Primeape and Machamp, it's kind of scary because, if they just get the cards, they can attack on curve. As you can see, we get a Machoke here. Now he evolves right away, which is weird. Because he could have had an opportunity to hit me for 20 damage. And as you can see here, I draw Sabrina. I'm not going to expect myself to take this hit pretty well. It's going through my hand, yeah, I'm just... I Sabrina the Machoke out, trying to prolong my survivability here. That way I can force the energy to be put onto the Mankey to then retreat back into the Machoke. So it gives me one extra turn here. So they get the Professor's Research, they get 2 more cards. They started with the Pokeball, which is super helpful. They get their second one from that Professor's Research. This is not looking the best for me. You know, obviously going in, I expect myself to have the type advantage here. I'm, running Psychic, and they got 2 fighting types that are weak to Psychic, so I get that extra damage off. But it's not looking not looking the best here. Abra is just a sitting duck. I haven't pulled Kadabra, haven't pulled Clefairy. You can see, 30 damage. Right here, I get the Pokeball. Now, obviously, with 3 basics left, 2 of the 3 are going to be Clefairy. Obviously, I pull it here. Must have been a stutter in the playback there. Yeah, the potion up the Abra just in case they Sabrina it. Obviously, they could still Sabrina it, with the Machoke. But in case they don't have Sabrina, or in case they're doing something else, obviously right there, making damage itself with the +20 from Clefairy's Slap. Yeah, that was it. See, they got the second energy on the Machoke, going for the strength. Oh, and they pulled Giovanni here, which, immediately one-shots Clefairy. I have no choice but to send the Abra back in. Get a second Pokeball. Now right here it's about a 50-50 on what I get. Luckily I get the second Clefairy. Still have my Clefable in hand. All I have to do is not bank on the fact, of them getting a second Giovanni. That would suck. But, instead hit up for 40, decent damage. Like, if I can survive this turn and they don't have a potion, I can evolve it to Clefable and KO them. As you see, they drew the Primate, the top deck the Primate, but of course they had the Machamp in hand. And at this point, it's doing 100 damage. Knocks out Clefairy. At this point, there's nothing I can do. This is like why I thought this was a good, match to show, is that even though I lost here really badly, it's just sometimes you get a poor hand. I had no way to draw in the beginning. Even if I would evolve into Kadabra there, I took 10 damage. I'd only have, about 70 HP. Obviously, Kadabra has max 80, so it's definitely not going to survive a Machamp. And even then, I didn't have the energy to attack. Yeah, as you can see here, I'm running no EX matches. Now, what I like about Clefable is that, I shouldn't say Clefable specifically, but these types of cards is, it's 100 HP, 40 damage for 1 energy. Now, you have these across a couple other types as well. You have Marowak, you have Rapidash. I believe in Grass, the closest you have is Whimsicott. Starmie is relatively close. Dodrio is kind of close. Give or take to that type of archetype. And I like these because it allows you to power something up on the bench. You just have 1 energy, relatively tanky, 1 retreat. It's not too much of an investment here. As you can see, this is immediately a slightly better hand. Obviously, I have ALAKAZAM, both my Giovannis. But I start with the Pokeball, immediately, and get a Clefairy here. Super helpful. Going up against a Lilligant Venusaur deck. I don't often see these in no EX matches. But I guess, it's still somewhat viable. So, obviously it's attacking me. Now my move here is obviously, I can just... what do I go for? Okay, obviously I evolved the Clefable right away, put the other Abra on the bench. Then what I go for here is I teleport Obviously, I don't want to retreat into Clefable because I can't attack. So I'd rather use my attack to then swap into Clefable and keep the energy on the Abra just in case. That way, I can attack next turn. Okay, so they put the energy on the Bulbasaur, and that's a sign that they didn't quite draw the Lilligant, and they Sabrina here. So what I do is I go back out into the Abra, with that already has the energy. This allows me to retreat back into the Clefable, and that way I don't have to waste my energy. I draw Kadabra here, and I kind of debate back and forth on who I use it on. Obviously I plan on retreating anyway, but I don't know if I want to put it on the already damaged Abra that has the energy, which, I mean, doesn't matter, I'm going to retreat it. So I just decided to put it on the, Abra with no damage. That way I can keep the one that's already damaged and, sack it if I need to. Now, obviously right here, I'm not worried about the Petalil. No, if they drew Lilligant, I think it would have been a safe bet to Giovanni, because that way I would have done 50 damage, and if they evolved, they would have been left with 50, and they can't heal. But obviously, they don't draw Lilligant, they don't have it, they're still at 30. I can still finish them off, and then draw the second Alakazam. I already had the Alakazam in hand, so it doesn't matter. So and right here, obviously, this is where you start to see the deck come online. Clefable does, a little bit of damage. It could be offset by 2 potions, but that just means your opponent wastes their 2 potions from Clefable. And, still have another Abra, so I can sack it if I need to. I already have Alakazam. I just start putting the energy on that. So they get the Lilligant right here. Obviously, they do 50. I'm not in a good position where I can survive another one. Ideally, I'd want 2 potions here, in case they Giovanni. Instead, I get a Professor's Research, put that second energy on the Alakazam, do the Professor's Research here, and I get 1 potion and my other Clefable. Now, I still put the potion on Clefable here because, this is a grass deck, and not a lot of grass decks run Giovanni. They used the Sabrina, and I'm fully expecting an Erica. As you can see with my deck here, obviously with the 3 supporters being Professor's Research, Giovanni, and Sabrina, I'd assume they'd swap out their Giovanni for an Erica on a grass deck, which they, obviously use right there. Gets a second Pokeball, nothing left, so it's just 2 Petalils, 2 Bulbasaurs. Obviously, Clefable survives here. They, keep putting that energy on that 1 Bulbasaur. They haven't drawn an Ivysaur, which is crazy to think about here. But instead, I put that last energy on the Alakazam. I can retreat. What I love about Clefable, you use the 1 energy to attack, and then you can just immediately use it to retreat. Doing 120 on the Lilligant, it's a nice clean one-shot. If it only had 1 energy, I could have used the Giovanni there to get the one-shot on it. See, now, if I were them, I would have gone into the other Bulbasaur, just because this one has so much energy on it, and, with that much energy, Alakazam is going to do a lot of damage. If I would have, well, they concede here, but I would have gone to the other Bulbasaur in the off chance they drew Ivysaur. Because I assume the last 2 cards in their hand were their Venusaurs, but obviously never got a chance to see that. Give them a thanks. That was a pretty decent match. It was an opportunity to show, some of the offensive pressure that this deck can pull off. Righty. Going to match number 3 here. Against Tony M. Alrighty. So I'm going first here. I'm not against going first. Especially with a hand like this, I'm definitely not against going first. I got a Clefairy and Clefable. which means immediately on my next turn here, I can attack, and I see the Snom up front, I see the Dratini, I know exactly what they're doing here. And the fact that I drew Clefairy, Clefable, and Giovanni in my starting hand means I know exactly how to take care of this Snom. So Pokeball here, get my second Clefairy, it doesn't matter. You know, they get Sabrina me all they want, I'll just go into the other Clefairy. Open up, you know, got the other Dratini, they Misty on the Snom. Which all they need is one, I guess. But you know, they get Tails. You know, Frostmoth only needs 2 energy, so Misty isn't that big of a deal. As you can see here, you know, I draw Kadabra, which is super helpful. You know, it means I can still attack now if I wanted to. 60 damage isn't bad. I just evolve, you know, this Clefairy right away and Clefable. Put on the energy, put on the Giovanni. Now Magical Shot here is going to do 50 damage. You know, it's just enough to one-shot the Snom. You know, and that's a huge annoyance, you know, knocked out right away. And they immediately concede. Now, there was a chance they still could have brought this back. Obviously, they had 2 Dratinis, and with the Dragonite deck, you only really have time to put on, you know, bring online 1 Dragonite. So there was a chance, you know, they could have put in 1 Dratini, start powering up the one on the bench. You know, but obviously I have no idea what their hand was like. So, you know, and with the Noe X match, it's not over till it's over, really. So, you know, the most I would have gotten is 2 points there from knocking out the other Dratini. But I guess with, you know, having Kadabra and Clefable there, it didn't matter. We're going into the last match here. As you can see, pretty, you know, same thing. I got Clefairy, Abra, and Clefable. Like having that in a Pokeball. But I'm going second this time, which means that I'm kind of forced to do 20 damage on the first time. Let's see, you know, they Pokeball. Now they're running Squirtle here. And as I'm playing this match, I realized that I haven't really gone up against a Blastoise deck before. So, like, I see Squirtle, 60 HP, 20 damage, I'm not worried. But at the same time, and I know Blastoise carries Hydro Pump, but just the numbers off the top of my head, you know, I'm not really aware of. So I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh man, you know, how much damage does Blastoise do? How much health does Blastoise have? And, you know, my safe guess was like, oh, it's 3 energy for, you know, 60. And with the extra energy, it might be like plus 50 or something. Obviously, you know, I later come to find out I'm wrong. You know, it's 3 energy for 80, and with 2 more, it does another 60. So, you know, Blastoise has the potential to do a huge amount of damage. You know, doing 140, that's enough to, you know, one-tap Alakazam. But they get the Misty here, only 1 heads, which is super helpful, but, you know, allows them to evolve into War Turtle right away. They do 40 damage. Pull a Giovanni here. Now, obviously, I have both Clefable, and, you know, I want to evolve both my Clefairies right away. And what I do is I put the second energy on the Clefable here. And I potion up, just, you know, just in case something happens to this first Clefable, I at least have the second one to keep the Abra alive. You're gonna see, you know, War Turtle, about 20 health left. As you can see, they evolved into Blastoise right here, and, you know, going from, you know, 20 health to 90 health, plus the potion, you know, I'm thinking, oh god, Blastoise is a monster, because, you know, I've been actually gone up against a regular Blastoise before. So it does 80 damage, you know, the potion did not matter. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time, you know, haven't really fought Blastoise, didn't know how much damage it does. I was at 80, you know, it's the perfect number, it was a redundant potion, really. So I could have saved it, but I draw Oak here, and I get Kadabra and, you know, the second potion. Honestly, glad I drew Kadabra here, because it means I can still do some damage. I have to do 40 damage here, bring the Blastoise to 70. They could if they had a second potion, they could go to 90. And as you can see, there are 4 energy here. You know, still doing 80, but 1 more, they'll start doing 140. which is not something I'm looking forward to. So I am very much in a danger zone here, obviously, but instead I get this waiting for them to return. I don't know what's going on with them, whether they had to quit for a reason, the game crashed, something like that. But they have about 45 seconds on the clock. But I think if I recall, they make it back in time, at least. Okay, about 20 seconds. Yeah, they make it back. 20 seconds left. Do 80 damage. I don't know if they could have done. There was a chance they might have had Misty in hand and they just, weren't paying attention. With 20 seconds coming back, might have been busy with something else. No clue. But Professor's researching at both of my Sabrinas. Not ideal, really. Obviously, still have the potion. Not going to use it right away. Kind of hoping to draw ALAKAZAM from that. But luckily, with Blastoise being at the health it's at, if they did potion a second time, they'd be at 50, and I could still, KO it with the Kadabra. And I think the opponent recognizes that they don't bother putting that, fifth and final energy on Blastoise. Instead, they put on the Froakie here. Now, I draw this Abra and I put it on the bench, but hindsight, I definitely should not have done that. The opponent's at 2 points, and I effectively gave them, a free one-shot if they had Sabrina. I see the Froakie on the bench, and, if they ever evolve that into Greninja all the way, Greninja can do 80 damage, which obviously is enough to one-shot Kadabra, but at the same time, if they evolve into Frogadier right here, I'm thinking, oh, they're just gonna do 30 damage. They can Sabrina and the Abra, but instead they X speed, which I thought was really weird, because they chose to bring it in after the Blastoise went down, and I don't know what was going on with that. I don't know what their plan was. Instead, they just bring it in, evolve it, only to X speed it back out into a Squirtle. Finally get the ALAKAZAM here, and I have no idea why they brought in the Squirtle. Because Squirtle has 60 damage, has 60 health, and Kadabra does 60 damage immediately. But I know that that Greninja, a potential Greninja, is the next biggest threat, so I Sabrina out into it. Don't bother putting the other energy on the Abra. Don't know why. It doesn't matter at this point. Because if they Sabrina the Abra in, I'm gonna survive a Squirtle. I'm gonna survive a Wartortle here on that second Abra if they have Sabrina, and I can just retreat. Instead, they get the Misty here, get their second Misty. Get a heads, they only get one heads. And, they concede right there. There was a chance I could have lost that. Obviously, I think if they got the Froakie, one turn sooner, if they got that Froakie one turn sooner, they definitely could have, KO'd me there. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you, like this deck. It's nothing crazy, and it doesn't need to be anything crazy. You can definitely run this with different energies. You can do Marowak and Machamp. And in OEX, they're both fighting cards, but they share different weaknesses. Obviously, I think Primeape and Machamp is also more common. But I'd rather do Marowak and Machamp. Just because, Cubone can at least, decrease some of the damage your opponent does, and Marowak only needs that one energy to attack. With some of the fire, it's not a whole lot of fire cards, so you're better off just doing the Blaine deck, but you probably could utilize this in a water deck. There might be a way to, use Starmie in a similar way using Clefable. Although I'd blanking. I believe you could probably get away with Starmie and Poliwrath. That way you don't have to rely on Misty so much. That's probably like the best bet there. You can just put one energy on uh Staryu. You can just use Starmie. Starmie doesn't have a retreat cost. So, if you have a Poliwag on the bench that you're powering up, you could do that. I just decided to run it with Psychic because, I haven't seen Alakazam be used. I was like, oh, that's very, interesting. And you probably could run this in some of the meta formats, with the EX cards. Obviously, as Alakazam does more damage with with its Psychic, um, it works well into a lot of the water decks with Misty. I believe you could probably, yeah, you can one shot Articuno, I think. Um, no, you can't actually. No, you can. 3 energy for, yeah, because it's 30 damage for each additional energy they have. With the base of 60. So 3 energy on that Articuno EX, you do 90 plus 60, it's 150. Articuno has 140 HP, so you can do that. Um, but obviously the biggest downside, as you can see, was probably the pacing. There were a couple times where I started with just Abra, and that kind of threw me off for the first times. That first match against that Primate Machamp deck, I was just really lagging behind because my hand just happened to be super unfortunate and I couldn't recover from it. Obviously there's no energy acceleration in this deck, but I still had fun playing it. I like playing this. You can definitely run this with some of the other energies just as super just box standard in case you don't have any of the more niche supporters. You know, um, I wouldn't call this a budget deck because Alakazam is from the Mewtwo pack and Clefable's from the Pikachu pack. So they're from two different packs. So I don't. So might have a hard time pulling both in case you're still super free to play. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this deck. If you have any decks you want me to try out, keep in mind I don't have all the cards yet. I'm missing like 12, and with the at the time of recording this, Mythical Island, coming out tomorrow, you know, um, I can hopefully try and play a couple matches with some of those cards. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay frothy.